Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Colette and my channel is Inspiring Life Changes, and the reading that I'm doing today is for the collective. This is the tarot part of the reading for the new moon in Gemini, total solar eclipse that has taken place on the 10th of June. And like I said, this is the tarot part of it. I have already put the astrology part up. So if you're interested in finding out more about the astrology, go and check out that astrological reading. There will be a free natal link in the description box down below as well for anybody who wants to find out more about their own astrology. If you don't know the placements for yourself, it is worth finding out because it does help to give you a bigger picture of what is happening in the world at this time. As above, so below, relating to our situation. So the reading itself, I'm going to start with the card, and I'm going to read you from the Black Moon astrology cards. I'm actually going to start with the card of the total solar eclipse energy, which is all about revolution. It's all about change. So this card spells out change. Eclipses, both solar and lunar, are the earliest forecasting tools used in astrology. Through these dramatic sky events, the ancients understood major transformations were about to happen. And since these eclipses looked so dramatic and ancient people greatly feared them, since during an eclipse the sun and moon give the impression they disappear. The ancients associated eclipses with serpents they believed were devouring the lights in the sky. From this, the ancients formed the idea of death and rebirth, which is what eclipses are all about. Interestingly as well, with the idea of the serpent, is that the north node and the south node are seen as being the head and the tail of a dragon or a serpent. And so when you only ever get eclipses when the moon's nodes are at the same point as the sun or the moon, depending on whether it's a total whether it's a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. Depends on where the sun and the moon are in the sky as well. But the head and the tail of the serpent is known as the north node and the south node, and the south node is the tail end, the energy that we need to release, and the north node is the head, which is where we are kind of traveling to, focusing our attention to. It's the energy that we are karmically and collectively working with or working towards. In other words, when it comes to eclipses, something has to die for better things to be born. In the case of the solar eclipse, the effects are longer lasting. The solar eclipse occurs during the new moon when the sun and moon are in opposition but perfectly aligned. For a brief time, the moon obscures the sun, blocking it from view. In essence, this is a blackout and means we must focus on what is directly in front of us. Usually a change or a shock is in store, which may not be welcome, but is necessary to move us forward. When the solar eclipse card turns up in a reading, you can expect swift changes that end one chapter and start a new one. You may have felt something would eventually happen, not having recently paid much attention to the situation when you're presented with a shock or a jolt and you're reeling over the sudden change. These events may seem like a negative at first: a divorce, the end to a relationship, being forced to move, or even losing your job. Eclipses tend to affect relationships foremost, however. And so you may soon see stressors and upsetting changes in the relational supports you have counted on. Another interesting factor about this solar eclipse as well is that Mercury and Venus and Mercury is next to, is conjunct this solar eclipse, this total solar eclipse is conjunct with the new moon and the sun. And at the time that Mercury went retrograde, which was quite recently, the 23rd of May I think it was, or maybe just after, he and Venus were actually conjunct each other as well, and the energy from this total solar eclipse is kind of activating all of that energy as well. It was at 19 degrees I believe of Mercury, of Gemini, where they were conjunct. But it's in my astrological report if you're interested in checking that out. But basically it does mean that relationships, personal relationships, are going to be a big issue around this solar eclipse as well. For whatever reason, these may be taken away either for the time being, but perhaps permanently. So the one thing you can count on is that your life will go through a complete rearrangement of sorts. The energies are saying that it is necessary to be cruel before being kind. But eclipses are not always about the downside. Instead, you may find yourself having to dive in, change something, fix something, or create something you hadn't really thought of but will work out brilliantly, that ends up transforming your life all the ways you've hoped for, maybe beyond your wildest imaginings. All in all, when the solar eclipse card turns up, it implies you are being forced to make a decision to act on it. And decision and choices are one of the major things in this particular solar eclipse as well, because of the fact that it's in Gemini. And Gemini is all about duality, choices, decisions to be made. So starting the reading today, we have an interesting card here. First energy out is the Devil energy, which as a collective, we are kind of dealing with this. It's us in this cage, if you like, being held, bound by our fears, our stresses, our worries, control by others. The thing is, the cage is open and we do have the ability to walk free from this, but we don't, because we are kept bound by our own fears, by our own beliefs that something will happen if we try to change something, if we try to escape. And this can also be to do with mental processes as well. This could have something to do, especially with this Mercury energy. Again, you might want to watch my reading about the Mercury energy being very, very prevalent at this time. It also talks about the devil within ourselves, the voice, the things that kind of we keep repeating to ourselves over and over again, the repetitive, conditioned energy, which could also relate to this devil energy as well, and how we have kind of become addicted to it in a way that it keeps us controlled, it keeps us down, it stops us from being successful or more than we are as a collective. It's coming through to me almost like manipulation of our thought processes. Like brainwashing is kind of how it's coming through here. That we have been mass brainwashed for a long time, and that's why we're kind of in this cage. The cage is kind of holding us, but as I was saying, we can just leave it at any time. But because it's in reverse, there's also a strong feeling of us in many ways allowing this to take place. And over the top of the Devil card, we have the Nine of Wands, which is a similar kind of energy for me, I feel, today. There's a similar... This is our challenge. This is what we need to push through. It's our challenge, our crossing energy, kind of our boundary energy, if you like. It's what we need to work with, work through. And the Nine of Wands is saying to me here, it's almost like it's too much. It's much easier to stay in the cage than it is to actually try and get out of it, try and free ourselves mentally. And creatively as well. One's energy being that creative drive. And this is also, the Devil is also Capricorn energy as well. And we have Pluto in Capricorn at this time. So this could also relate to like governmental systems, authoritarian energy, things that kind of keep us in our place, don't allow us to go beyond, to question, to not agree with, to have a mind of our own. And with the Nine of Wands over the top, it's kind of saying to me that there's a blockage, because this wand here is kind of blocking something. It's kind of holding things back. So it's almost like keeping it in place, keeping us in place. It's almost like a collective a cognitive dissonance is what I'm getting, and I kind of got that earlier with my astrology reading as well. I used the word cognitive dissonance in my reading a couple of times because it feels very strongly as though we're kind of in that place at this time. There's also an element here as well of kind of the way that he's looking over towards this energy, almost like he's saying, you know, you don't have to be in there. You can come out of that cage. You can release yourself. You can be your own boss, or your own... Boss isn't the right word that I'm thinking of here. It's the word that's come in. Your own... like master, or yeah, like you can take charge of your own life here. The way he's kind of looking over at this full figure that's cowering in that cage, it's almost like, you know, there's a feeling of a look of disgust, or kind of just a disappointment. Like he looks actually disappointed. If you say, why are you still in there? Why are you still there? You don't have to be there. It's kind of how it's coming through. And we have in our head, and what we're aware of at this time, the Faith card in reverse. And today this is coming through for me as a sense of challenging our beliefs, our commitment to something. This is always seen, most tarot readers see this as a Taurus energy. I personally don't see this as Taurus. I see this as Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is all about things like religion, philosophy, belief, the higher kind of realms of learning. And interestingly, there's all of these different kind of symbols around this circle as well, which kind of talks of this kind of eternal sense of like the same source of energy, but it's all kind of divided into different okay, and it's kind of going along with this card as well. It's kind of divided into different, well, religions, I suppose, but it's also coming through as a sense of different kind of fractions or fractals, or this sense of things breaking apart rather than it being as one whole. And I'm also getting a sense of it with this here as well. Like the more we divide something, the more ultimately it controls us. There's also an element of truth within this card as well, the Faith card. There could be, with it in reverse as well, a feeling of no longer trusting the people who we put our trust and our faith into. Being a Sagittarian energy for me as well, the South Node is in Sagittarius at this time. This is kind of a feeling of dogma, of things getting stuck, of things kind of like a sense of keeping things separated, because in order to keep things, or in order to control, which is this energy here, it's easier to separate something, conquer and divide is kind of what's coming through here. And what we're needing to do with this Nine of Wands here is kind of champion ourselves, is what's coming through. And to realise as well, there's a lot of red energy in that, a lot of red base, very kind of base energy. Coming from the base chakra, which is where we hold our kind of fear. And in the three lower chakras, red, orange and yellow, which are all very much in these three cards. So it's all very related to our kind of connection with the earth, I feel. Like our domain. Like how we connect with the earth, how we're connected, how we are part of it. Because it's the three lower chakras that keep us in this energy, this fear-based energy. It's like once you rise beyond those energies, you reach the heart chakra, which is a completely different vibrational energy. This is coming through as lower frequency, something that we need to free ourselves from, work ourselves out from. But in order to do so, this is in our head and what we're aware of at this moment, we need to bring things together. We need to collectively work together as one source, and to stop dividing, to stop arguing, fighting, and possibly even allowing ourselves to be used in that way as well. Allowing ourselves to be used to divide each other and ourselves. Because what's in our past energy here is the Ten of Cups in reverse. And this has come through for me today as a sense of, well, it's unhappiness for a start because it's in reverse, but also this sense of again, separation, things being separated, families, friends, connections, keeping things apart, separating, is helping to kind of keep that vibrational energy in play, that lower vibrational force. And also to divide people within the family unit as well. Is what's coming through there. And in the subconscious, and where this is all kind of stemming from at this time, we have the Knight of Swords, which is very much for me the Mercury energy. Fast moving, and Mercury's in retrograde at this time as well. It feels like he's kind of saying to rise above this energy. Rise above, like, because he's on this winged horse. So it's like thoughts are air. Thoughts are, I say thoughts are air, it's like they're in our heads. They are things that come through. Imaginative. All the swords relate to the air element. So what I'm getting here is kind of lifting that like okay, so again, I talk about this in my astrology reading, but this is like the Mercury energy at this time going retrograde. We are very much in our heads. It's all in Gemini. It's all air. It's all very much in our heads. It's all very much like chatter and information coming in, and lots of disinformation and information at the same time. But what this feels like is trying to rise above all of this, trying to rise above the kind of negative thought processes, that have got us to where we are at the moment. It kind of feels like we're ready for takeoff, ready for something new, ready to leap forward into something else, is how I'm seeing it, kind of leaving something behind, leaping into this new energy, which the solar eclipse is. It is a new energy, because when the light gets cut off, that whole energetic place that we have been in changes. Today it's taken 5.5 hours for the sun to be eclipsed by the moon and for it to be over. So for 5.5 hours the energy was being slowly cut off and brought back online again. It's like rebooting your computer, your laptop, and clearing it out of all the old stored information that is now irrelevant. That's how I'm seeing that card here. It's the kind of clearing out, it's the moving forward, it's the Gemini, Mercury, solar eclipse energy itself, the North Node energy of moving into something new, making something new happen, coming out of our comfort zone, pushing forward. But the energy that we have moving in is the High Priestess in reverse. And this is saying to me that it's not time yet for things to be understood or revealed, because this is very Neptune energy. This is what we are in at this time. Again, I talk about this in my reading, but we've got so much Neptunian energy at this time. We've got 5 planets plus the North and the South Node, both in mutable signs, and mutable signs very changeable, very fluid, very like surreal, like dreamlike kind of energy, dream state. And not only that, we have Neptune in the 12th house energy of this Piscean kind of no boundaries, no kind of, if you think of it a bit like being on an ocean in the middle of nowhere, and you've got there's no horizon, it's just like everywhere you look it's just open space. And that can bring, it's like being on that boat constantly kind of going up and down, up and down. There's no stability, there's no kind of earth groundedness. It's all very much in flux, all very changeable. Neptune energy. And we are in this energy big time. As I said, Neptune also is making connections with 6 of our planets at this time as well, or 6 of these energies at this time. So there is a lot of this surreal, almost unreal, almost dreamlike like energy that we are going to be in for quite some time yet, which we are almost kind of how can I put it? And it's almost like the veil as well being lifted between worlds or dimensions, like things that are almost being revealed but they're not quite, almost maybe like catching glimpses of something that you think may be there, but then when you turn to look it's like it's not, or at least it changes, it kind of like when you focus your attention on it, it disappears. It's no longer in your field of vision, shall we say. And that's what I feel that this energy is bringing in at this time. It's almost like moving into this surreal, like the veils like lifting, or not so much lifting or shifting, but things are so kind of pliable at this time. Like possible other dimensions coming through into our dimension. Also very much the dream world, dream states. It works with the intuition, kind of psychic realm. And this is going to be very strong over this coming 6-month period, I feel, as well. With Neptune also, I think she's about 10 days away from actually turning retrograde or stationing retrograde herself as well. So that's also going to make a big difference as well. This Neptune energy is going to keep going for quite some time as Neptune also retrogrades back. And so we have in our environment the Four of Cups. And what's interesting about this card is that normally it shows 3 spilt cups, and 1 cup that is being brought in from a divine source, from a higher realm. There's also this energy here as well. This is that higher realm, that beyond the physical is probably the best way to put it. Beyond the physical, it's where things the imagination, in a way, the imaginative. It's where things start out before they become earthly, before they manifest in the real. So in this card, he's actually looking at this cup that is being offered, but he's not reaching to take it, or we're not reaching to take it. It's like all these 3 cups down here are things that we've experienced, but that's the old energy. So we don't want to go there again, because otherwise it's like going back to that Sagittarius energy and just kind of reliving the same stories. Whereas this is about a new opportunity to do with relationships or our heart in general. A recognition of the collective source of all that is, and that everything is connected by this divine energy. And it's there kind of offering us something more, but it's up to us whether or not we decide to take it. In this card, we're just kind of sitting there looking, becoming aware of it on some level, it feels. We're just kind of beginning to notice. that this is there for us to choose to take or not. And our collective this is kind of how we see the energy at this time. The Six of Coins is a balancing up. It's about give and take. It's about giving and receiving from a place of wholeness, from a place of not lacking, of being able to give as much as we receive. In his hand he's holding out this symbol, this Libra symbol. Which is all about balance. Libra is all about balancing the scales, keeping things in harmony, fairness, justice. Wanting things to work out. In a balanced way, in a way of equality, equal give and take. And the Page of Cups is in our hopes and our fears. Page of Cups, young energy, naive energy, particularly when he's upside down. Possibly an energy that's not open to self-healing. Page of Cups is about healing the inner child. It is about the inner child. It's about the emotional trauma. And this could also have something to do with that inner voice as well. I was talking about earlier with this Knight of Swords down here. This could also have something to do with the level of control and trauma that kind of keeps us in this place of naivety, is what's coming through for me today. This naive misunderstanding, or again it could have something to do with the trusting, those that we place our trust in. Because this is our hope and our fears. But there is a childlike energy to all the pages, because they need to learn, they need to grow, they need to experience. And if he's trapped in this cage here, then we are being limited. We're not being allowed to experience and to grow and to, because you can only grow through experience on an emotional level. You have to go through certain experiences in order to be able to learn and grow from them. And the final card that we have here is the Four of Wands, but it is in reverse. The Four of Wands often talks about a sense of, if you put it up that way, of stability, of making something come, like bringing something together, something kind of growing. On a like creative plan is how it's coming through. I'm also seeing this as the South Node energy as well, as something to do with letting go. It's like this door closing is how I'm seeing it. It's not a door opening. Sometimes when I look at it, I see it as a door opening, but today I'm seeing it as a door that is closing. And these wands either side of it as well, it's very Gemini looking energy. The twins energy, which incidentally the Knight of Swords is twin energy as well. Usually there's two riders, which originate from the Gemini twins Pollux and Castor. But I'm kind of seeing this as a sense of that door closing. That we are closing the door. It's like closing the door on the past. But almost feeling that like some people are going to be left behind that door. It could have something to do with this Page of Cups energy as well, that we are literally having to let people go, people that have been a part of our lives. As this door closes, I feel very much that this is about making decisions. Which side of this door are you going to be on? Which again is connecting to that South and North Node energy. Which side of this door do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the North Node side, which is connecting to new energy, moving out of this energy? Another thing about the Knight of Swords as well is once his mind is made up, he's very decisive and very unsentimental. He moves on. He doesn't hold on to things. He doesn't kind of think, oh, I'll just go back. It's like he's very good at cutting ties, is the Knight of Swords. So So that could also be the energy that we are going to be facing, having to make decisions, having to decide which side of the fence or the door we're going to be on. For our own personal growth or benefit. I feel very much it's about the individual having to make these decisions and these choices for themselves or ourselves, that each of us are having to choose what we're going to do, where we're going to stay, which side of the door are we going to be on, and ultimately which side of history are we going to find ourselves on as well. And I feel as well with it being in reverse, it's not going to be an easy situation that we're having to deal with here. We have the Queen of Fire who has come out in reverse as well, over the top of the Devil and the Nine of Wands here. And the Queen of Fire is holding this candle, which is reflecting her heart chakra energy here. But it is in reverse. What I'm getting from this is that we need to light our own heart. That we need to be able to light, to bring light to our own heart, to our own yeah. It's almost like this this bauble here on the end, or say this bauble on the end of this wand here, which is kind of, you can see it, it's kind of lit up, but it's also got this kind of design on it, or it's kind of, and it's just coming through in a similar way for me with her candle that is also lit up with a design around it. So the two of them together, even though this is actually in reverse as well, but it feels as though it's kind of saying that there's a need here for, as I was saying, the strength, the courage with this card, because it's kind of a disappointment here. And I feel as though it's kind of saying we need to take back our own courage or ability to know what's right for us. Does it feel right for us? Because again, it feels as though there's been this kind of like mass hallucination, if you like, that's been going on for a long time. This kind of devil energy, toxic energy that has been slowly kind of taking over minds and souls, and heart energy here as well. So it feels like there's something about opening or wanting or not wanting to open this heart energy, like wanting to keep it closed, or this energy here is keeping it closed, keeping the heart chakra shut down, stopping it from being able to, because we all connect at a heart chakra level. And our heart actually knows before our brain what is coming into our lives, what's happening. So the intuition has a lot to do with the heart energy as well. It's that knowing. And the heart reacts before the brain does. So it feels like something being kept blocked, being kept shut down, which could also have a lot to do with this energy here, that we are actually being kept closed down because we're not being able to express as much as we have done in the past. We're not being able to show that connection or feel that connection, experience that connection. It could also have something to do with this Page of Cups energy here as well, and our hopes and our fears. Because he needs that those emotional experiences in order to grow and to learn and to understand and become emotionally intelligent and trust those feelings, that intuition, that knowing, which it feels like this is being kind of blocked and kept subdued. And we're not experiencing as much of our heart chakra energy as we should or could or ultimately would want to do, because it makes us feel better when we do, because we are all connected at that level. And so by shutting that down, it is much easier to control and to block, is how that's come through. And interestingly, we have the Ace of Fire. Which is an interesting card here, because it's come out over the top of the faith energy, which I'm seeing as this circle of separated faiths, religions, like just another way to separate the people, to separate the conscious oneness, which is what this Ace of Fire today is coming through for me as this contained, but it's kind of because it's upright, it's also saying that there's an awakening, There's an awakening, like something is being relit, rewoken. At the very top here, there is this tiny little fairy, and she is actually clutching this heart, this tiny, tiny little heart to her chest. I don't know if you can see that, but it's reminding me of this energy here, which has been blocked and closed down. And kind of keeping everything separate. Again, it's that separation. And people are wakening up to, as we move further into this energy that we're coming into, of the Aquarian energy, of the humanitarian energy, we are beginning to awaken to this source energy, the fact that it's all just one source, it all comes from one source, it's not all separated to start with. It gets separated when we get hold of it, or when it's like we are the people who are separating this source energy, if you like. But it feels as though it's kind of escaping, is how I'm seeing it here. It's like it's been contained, but with all this in the background, it's kind of almost like it's beginning to like set fire. Like the fires are starting to burn. Like people are awakening. Like the spiritual fire is how I'm kind of seeing this over the top of this Faith card. But it's a spiritual fire that is connected to a realization. That at the end of the day, it's all about the heart. It's all about the heart and the connection, connecting at the heart chakra level. Or rising up to the heart chakra level. And then we have the messenger of fire, which again is more fire, which I'm seeing today as this source energy of this kind of spiritual fire, if you like. This awakening. It's like these candles on her head. Are bringing in this awakening. It's almost like with this Ten of Cups, this separation again of people close to us, family, friends, even situations that we've not been able to experience and enjoy. And it's like on some level, the more this happens, the more the kind of closing down and the control aspect of it happens, the more we are seeing it happening, the more we're kind of waking up and seeing it. And it kind of feels like with all these little baubles of light that are around her here as well, it's almost like spreading the message, like it's something to do with this here, of this fire, this kind of spiritual fire. kind of this cosmic consciousness, if you like. Is like with each of these little yeah, these little blobs of light is kind of how I'm seeing them. It's kind of wakening people up. It's like this is us wakening up, seeing the reality, seeing the truth. These kind of candles on top of her head are like her lighting up, realizing, like a realization, like understanding what's been going on. So it's like spreading, the message is spreading as more and more people awaken, which is also how this is coming through as well, this Ace of Fire, like something is being ignited, awoken within us. Something that started off quite small but is growing kind of exponentially, which is how I'm seeing all of this here. It's kind of growing. Like spreading like fire, like I said earlier, spreading like fire, but it's not fire as in literal fire, it's fire as in a creative light that is driving it, driving this awakening, which is going to come out from this solar eclipse as well. Underneath it, underneath like the subconscious realm of the root cause, we have the Ace of Cups in reverse over the top of this Knight of Swords here. And you probably won't be able to see it, but on that pearl wrapped around his towel, or his towel is wrapped around, there is this very faint, I'm going to turn it up the right way, it might help, like a warrior on a horse, literally. I don't know if you can see it. Like there, that is a warrior riding a horse. It's really badly, no, I don't think you're going to be able to see that, which is a shame. But there is, take my word for it, a warrior on a horse, which is very similar to this Knight of Swords energy here. With the Ace of Water in reverse as well. It's almost like I was saying earlier, that he's very unsentimental, the Knight of Swords. It's like decision is made, doesn't look back. There's also something about this kind of this pearl energy. Because a pearl is created by something that is annoying, something that is like it's a grain of sand basically that gets stuck in the oyster, and the oyster kind of wraps it and wraps it and wraps it and wraps it until it becomes this beautiful pearl. So it's got lots of layers, multiple layers. But it comes from something that is like an irritant. It's an annoyance. It kind of pushes, and it feels like it's something that's kind of pushing this energy forward. There's also something coming through about the Knight of Swords energy kind of getting kind of transfigured onto this pearl. Sense of how's it coming through? It's like the warrior energy here within the Knight of Swords, which is of course also Mercury, as I was talking about earlier, kind of getting transferred to this pearl here, which could also have something to do with the Mercury retrograde. Because Mercury was also conjunct Venus, which is all about love and emotions, relationships, but they were conjunct at the time that Mercury went retrograde. And because the seahorse is upside down as well, it feels as though he's kind of going down into the depths, further down, carrying this with him, this like treasure. Because when Mercury goes retrograde, or when any planet goes retrograde, basically it goes backwards. So it goes back to see what it's missed. What didn't it find the first time? Is why what happens when a planet goes backwards. So it basically goes over the same area that it has already transversed. So that's how it feels, as though something is being re-looked at, possibly by Mercury here. Our emotional situations. The aces are new energy. And often they can imply something like giving birth to something, like not literally. For some it may be literally, but often it's a kind of something new that comes into our life, a new idea, a new opportunity, a new way of looking at things. But there is something I feel about this kind of transference onto this pearl of this warrior energy, this warrior nature is how it's coming through. Or something that we're not expressing. This could also have something to do with the inner voices, the chattering voices, and how something that can be like here it's kind of rising up above all that negativity. I feel as though it's kind of escaping, but here it feels as though it's going back down into the depths for another look. I like this seahorse here wants to be more. Like he wants to be the horse that's on the pearl. He wants to be a horse rather than just being a seahorse. He wants to be a horse. He wants to be able to possibly get out of this kind of this emotional watery realm. And it's kind of saying to me though that at this time there's as this is the deep subconscious, this is where we are kind of taking another look possibly at an emotional situation. But it does also feel like those voices, because Mercury is all about those voices, is all about the communication, and it's the day-to-day things that we do, and the voices in our head, it's like they, you know, the running tirade of information that comes through, and a lot of it is stuff that has been conditioned into us. A lot of it is just things that have been kind of our past energy in a way, like from childhood onwards. So this is kind of saying that as we go deeper down into the depths and take notice of that voice, of that kind of, you know, is it dragging you down? Is it dragging you down into the depths? Is this constant kind of like this being the mind, as I was saying earlier, this cage representing the mind, and this representing us being kind of held by our own thoughts and our own fears and our own inner voice. That's what this feels like as well, but it's kind of on a level of not loving ourselves, not loving ourselves enough to believe that we can be more or do more, experience more, that we're not enough. Because when the Ace of Water, the Ace of Cups is upside down, it's basically saying that we don't believe that we deserve to be loved. We don't believe that we're lovable or good enough. It's like the all the things that we tell ourselves that are not enough about us, not good enough, not pretty enough, not strong enough or clever enough. That's what this feels like. During this Mercury retrograde. So we have over the top of the High Priestess, the Two of Fire energy here. Which I am seeing again as more of this Neptune energy. I know it's fire, but there's just this confusion at this time. It's just like this cloud of confusion, of not knowing where we're going, heading towards this cliff edge. And she's sitting on this giraffe, and she looks just very complacent. Actually, today she's actually coming through in a very deep, reflective, like deeply reflective, like really deeply engaged in her thoughts and her process of thinking. Again, this could have something to do with that Mercury retrograde and the Neptune energy. You can see almost like this energy, like if you see here, there is this kind of light, almost like something hidden, like a veil. I always kind of see that as this veil that's hiding something behind the curtain, a bit kind of Wizard of Oz-ish in a way. And that's how this is coming through. It's coming through like with this cloud of almost like this energy here as well. This expansive energy, like it's gone from the Ace to the Two. But it's like, now that we've got all this, what are we going to do with it? Where are we going to take? Where are we going to take it? What are we going to create with it? So it feels like a kind of energy of just time out is how it's coming through. Like a need to be really, really certain as to, and to trust that certain, that uncertainty. This for me is very Neptunian. I'm seeing it all as very Neptunian energy, like this kind of like surreal dream state, like nothing solid. It's also coming through a bit like a desert sandstorm. That sense of something coming towards you, and yet you don't know what that something is, or we don't know what that something is, but it feels like it's this ongoing kind of growing energy of this connecting awakening. And she looks like she's being very discerning, actually. She looks like she's very much deep in reflection and deciding which path to take. Almost like she's one of the people that is still needing to wake up. Which is also how I'm seeing this High Priestess energy as well. But there's a lot of people who are still not connecting with this inner intuitive world. And in some ways it's like it's all around us here. It's all around us, like all this information, all this like storm is how it's coming through. Like it's saying, like it looked like a sandstorm. It's like a storm of information and disinformation, and it's hard to tell what is true and what isn't. And so there could be this sense of almost like sitting on the fence in a way. For some people. Because it feels as though the giraffe is kind of stopped moving, because the giraffe knows if it goes any further it's going to go over the edge, and the giraffe doesn't want to do that. So it could also be about trusting those instincts. Again, trusting your feelings rather than necessarily, I'm not going to take that card, rather than necessarily just listening to the mind. Of course, we also have this Four of Cups down here as well, which could also be seen as this cup here, which is being offered as a symbol of, again, something like from a higher perspective, something that's we're being offered this higher love, this higher understanding, this higher emotional intelligence, but we are, as of yet, still not sure. which could, like as I was saying, this could have something to do with this Mercury retrograde as well, and why we're having to go back to re-look at everything. But over the top of this Four of Cups, we have the King of Air, who is again very sword, Mercury, air energy, mind energy, thoughts energy. When he's in reverse, it feels as though we may feel as though we can't express ourselves fully, like we may not be able to say exactly what we want to say at this time. It also feels as though it could have something to do with, again, like we're saying, like other dimensions. Like something opening up. It almost feels like something kind of dropping in. Like he's dropping in out of the air, out of the sky. And this could have something to do with, as I was saying, other dimensions, and like with this cup, us being offered this new this new love or this new connection, but it's coming from something that is like of a different frequency, is kind of how it's feeling. He's very much coming in today. This King of Air is coming in with this kind of watcher energy. Like something in the background. And when I look at it through the phone, it's really interesting because I'm seeing it as like all this, almost like he's channeling, like channeling down. And this all looks very much like the sky itself. It doesn't look like an actual figure. It almost looks like water as well. There's something kind of watery about it, as if something's being poured out. Because I'm kind of seeing is just this head. I'm just seeing this head, kind of disembodied head, with all of this kind of air, watery kind of energy. It's coming through with the sense of Saturn in Aquarius, who is also in reverse, or sorry, retrograde should I say. He's going in reverse, in retrograde energy. And it's coming through with this sense of something that is being offered to us in a sense of something to heal, like this disconnection, it feels like, because the Four of Cups talks about sadness, sorrow, disconnection from our love, really. Often it will come through in relationships as being something that has separated two people who are no longer together, but they may still have an energetic connection. There can be lots of guilt in this card as well, but today it's coming through more as this cup being something delivered to us via this energy here, which I'm feeling as this Saturn in Aquarius energy, and Aquarius being a higher connecting force. And this king is also coming through in a kind of, I don't want to say a insect or a bug type way, but it's almost like a sense of like something alien. So it could just be that it is alien to us, that it's something that we haven't experienced yet. So it's something that is not easy for us to recognize or accept. Again, the King of Cups, the King of Air could also be authoritarian energy as well. And there could be an element of deception in this energy, with it being in reverse. A lack of honesty. Covering up the truth. Possibly even covering up parts of our own history as well is what's coming through here. Air energy also being communication, storytelling, history. And we have the moon in reverse as well. When the moon is in reverse, for me, it is the new moon. in energy of the new moon itself. So the moon is being hidden at the time of a new moon, which we are in. The sun hides the moon. You can't see the moon. It's there, but it's so close to the sun that you can't see it, because the light of the sun stops you from being able to see what is actually there. So again, with this Six of Coins being all about balance and fairness and harmony and keeping things equal, it feels as though with this new moon here in Gemini, and Gemini being the twins, of course, not Libra as such, like not Libra, like not the scales as such, but twins, so two sides to every story, duality. And with the moon in reverse, it is like things are not being seen yet properly. Whatever is going on behind the scenes, which also the High Priestess energy could also be talking about here, whatever's going on behind the scenes is yet to be fully revealed. And it could have something to do with our finances. It could well have something to do with how things are changing behind the scenes that we are not aware of at this time when it comes to the monetary world. Because it's interesting, because this pentacle here, that coin, is shining very brightly, almost like the sun kind of blotting out the moon, is how it's coming through. And also with this little green disc there being the moon itself, kind of being hidden. But of course we have also just had the solar eclipse as well, so it's kind of showing the halo around it as well. A halo being something spiritual, spiritual message. But the moon is saying things are still, and with all this Gemini and mutable energy, things are in flux. Things are not 100%, but there is change. There is change happening. And this solar eclipse, new moon solar eclipse, is kind of taken us into this new, almost like a new light or world. It's like with this door, as this door closes, another door is going to open, is how this is coming through as well. Like something new is being born here, something new is being birthed from this solar eclipse today. Which it feels like is going to have far-reaching effects. Because the moon is also symbolic of people. The moon is the soul. I also feel as well that on some level we kind of already have an intuitive understanding of what is happening behind the scenes. Again, intuition, trusting our feelings on something. But this does feel as though it's to do with our money, our environment possibly as well. Something being birthed, which is yet to be revealed. So over the top of the Page of Cups we have the Six of Water, which is interesting because if you look into the water here, you will see a younger reflection of her down the bottom here. And this is actually a young version. There's a little girl down there. Now hands are crossed. You can see her hands are crossed like that. Maybe if I turn it up the other way you'll be able to see it better. There we go. There she is. So she is under the surface. And this is kind of what I was talking about with this page here as well, this healing. Because this card talks about healing for me. You see how she's like clutching herself, holding on to herself. There's like a deep emotional wound there, something that she needs to acknowledge within her younger self. And this is our hopes and our fears. It could also be to do with children as well at this time. And the experiences that children are having to go through, and the emotional trauma that it could be having on them for later in their life. It could also be to do with the emotional trauma of ourselves that we are having to deal with as a collective. Okay. I can't put that down yet. There's something else there which I'm kind of seeing but not seeing. There's pearls, but it's not so much about, for some reason it's reminding me of this card here with these feathers here, almost like he is kind of holding her in between. And it's like, I also saw this earlier as this waterfall, like this channel, there's something channeling, something coming through here, something. But if you look at this rock on either side of her, it looks like there are kind of these feather patterns either side, and it kind of feels as though he's holding her, like wrapped in this kind of feathers. As a kind of support, or a kind of understanding of it's okay to go deeper. And maybe also this has got something to do with our past history as well, which was also how this felt. Like, I don't know exactly what's going on here, but it's like this here is this here, like if it was up the other way, you can see the kind of, but because it's upside down, it's also a sense of he's kind of holding her, and this is him in the water down here reflecting back at something that is yet to be healed. This could have something to do with the masculine role as well, the masculine energy in general at this time. Chiron in Aries, there's a lot of healing of the masculine energy, but it also feels as though this has got something to do with past lifetimes. Like something that is very deep within our psyche is kind of how it's coming through. And again with his mask on as well, it feels as though he's not ready to reveal yet. He's not ready to show himself fully. That could also be what that cup is as well. It's kind of like getting glimpses of it. And if we put our attention and our focus on it, we can see it. A bit like I was talking about earlier about this energy, I think it was, where I was talking about when we focus our attention, we can see it, but otherwise we're just kind of catching glimpses out of the corner of our eyes. Kind of what's being said to me at this time about that cup as well. It's like we can see it at times. We know it's there. And so the Five of Earth, which did actually come out earlier, and I didn't take it earlier, but I'm taking it now, is over the top of this Four of Wands energy here. And this energy for me felt like something that was closing, like the door was closing on something that needed to be let go. Like this is the Sagittarius kind of South Node energy of all the stuff that we need to release and put behind us, which for me is this energy here, this kind of dogma of things that have become, like, not just religion, also science and things that you can't question. It's like sacrosanct. You don't question it. It's written in stone. So therefore it must be, and it never changes. And that's kind of what I'm feeling. This door is kind of closing on that, and there will be people on that side of the door, so to speak. It's not like they won't be there anymore. It's almost like an energetic door that is closing. And they will be on the other side of that door. And this is how I feel that they will be. It's like they are stuck. They will be stuck in that kind of time zone, in that thoughts, in that thinking processes, in that kind of stagnant energy that has no room for growth. But there is this light. There's still this light behind. It's kind of still saying that, you know, it can still burn through all of this. Like growth. Which, again, I see this card a bit similar to the Tower in a way, because it's kind of, all of this growth is our own kind of belief systems, or the Five of Pentacles, Five of Coins is about being, or Five of Earth as it is in this case, is about being like closed out of something, like shut out, kind of looking at things from the other side, so to speak. Like you, so it feels like, for those who are determined to stay in this energy, that they're going to be kind of yeah, it's like being left out in the cold, being left out of something that's a new start, a new beginning, a new dream, fire, passion. Again, it feels, pardon me, like the kind of spiritual awakening that these people are not allowing themselves to have. So the door is going to close. Even though the light is still pouring down on them, it's going to take a time. It's going to take a time for it to actually get through to these people. And for some people, it won't reach them. It's a bit like with the solar eclipse, kind of shutting off that energy, that energetic vibration, but they are choosing to stay in that energetic vibration rather than tuning into the energetic vibration that is coming back online after the solar eclipse has taken place. But as I was saying, the light is still there, and it is still possible for it to get through, but it is a slow, very slow process here. And some people won't want to be reached as well. Like, it doesn't matter if you try to reach out to them and try to explain things to them. They're not going to want to look or see or understand. They're very kind of trapped, shall we say, in this kind of if you see those 4 rods here, it's almost like that kind of, again, trapped in this energy here. They don't want to come out of this cage. For them, it's their comfort zone. They're happy there. They're South Node people, they're not North Node people. They don't want to move into the future, they want to stay in the past. Their comfort zone. So, I'm going to pull a Divine Feminine energy here. I am aware that the time is moving on. So let's see what the Divine Feminine energy, because the new moon is all about the Divine Feminine. Actually, I'm not going to take those at all. Let's try that again. Oh, no, too soon. Okay. Very slippery, these cards. Not been used much previously. Oh, too many again, too many. Sorry about this. I'm not taking all of them. Just too many. There we go. Okay, so we have Perpetua, who is the saint of authenticity. I am my authentic self in all circumstances. So let's see what she has to say. Page 22. So she is the Catholic Saint Vibia Perpetua, shows us the power of authenticity. Perpetua was a married noblewoman and mother living in 3rd century Carthage, which is modern day Tunisia in North Africa. The Roman Emperor Septimus Severus forbade any conversions to Judaism or Christianity. In celebration of his birthday, several catchments or Christians being instructed in the faith were arrested. Perpetua, along with a pregnant slave named Felicitas, were among them. Those who would not renounce their faith were sentenced to a public death in the arena. While Perpetua awaited her trial, she kept a prison diary. The Passion of Saint Perpetua has become one of the oldest and most extraordinary early Christian texts. At one point in the Passion, Perpetua describes a visit from her father. He begs her to renounce Christianity. She asks him, "See that pot lying there? Can you call it by any other name than what it is?" And when her father answers no, of course not, Perpetua continues, "Neither can I call myself by any other name than what I am, a Christian." The name Perpetua is derived from the Latin perpetuus, meaning continuous. Even though her father visited several more times to plead with her to be a dutiful daughter, mother, wife, Perpetua refused to renounce her faith in Christ, and she maintained this truth as paramount at a time when a woman's societal role was defined by her father and husband. Her prison diary also relates her relationship with Saint Felicitas and the class structures that Christianity transcends. Even though one is a noblewoman and one a slave, they died in the arena together in 2003 CE as equals and as sisters. When we find the courage to be true to who we are, a vitality returns to us, a voice that's both moving and compelling simply because it's authentic. Saint Perpetua's words in her very personal and emotional diary were so impactful that 200 years later the renowned church father Augustine would write about their beauty and truth. Saint Perpetua suggests that there is no greater power than choosing to remain our authentic self in all circumstances. She's that person who remained loyal to her soul, and she urges us through her example to embrace the power of being authentic now. Even in the face of death, she courageously held fast to her truth that she was Christian. Her right hand reveals the Christ mudra. She also reminds us that journal writing can be a sacred act of returning to ourselves, which is quite apt at this time as well, because all the Gemini energy, it's a good idea to write down a lot of what is in our heads, to actually get it out of our head space, because it's going to be a lot of overwhelming information. Of listening to the soul voice inside us, and of going inward to find our answers, which could also be what I was talking about here with this ace, the voice, the constant kind of like, are we good enough, etc., etc. kind of voice. And changing it. Perpetua is a call to a journal writing practice, even if it's just to record our dreams each morning, which are also very relevant at this time as well with this whole Neptune energy. The inner voice that greets us as we write strengthens our authenticity. That voice becomes a light, a fire that calls to us and claims us as we dare to live out its truth. So the soul voice meditation for this card here is, what is the truest statement I can say about who I am? Which again is very interesting because it relates for me back to this, who I am. What do you believe about yourself? What do you tell yourself constantly over and over again that you may not even be aware that you're saying until you kind of catch yourself? That's what I was saying, that it could be a good idea to, when you do catch yourself, write it down to remind yourself, and then you can change it. So the intention is, I am my authentic self in all circumstances. So writing, journaling, all very kind of Gemini, Mercury energy, third house energy, communication, expression, even if it's just for yourself, letter writing, emailing, texting if you need to talk to somebody else, but journaling, writing something down just for yourself is a really good way to get the voice that's constantly in the head out of the head, to change the energy, to shift the focus. So let's see what we have here. Nope, not you, too many. We have all consciousness on this planet are helping in the final transmutation of the dark forces. Know that. Know you are all part of the great cosmic dance. So, I'm going to leave the reading there and say thank you very much to those of you who have watched or listened to it. I really do appreciate you being here. Thank you again. And also, if you have learned anything from it, if it has benefited you in any way, could you please thumbs it up for me, because it just helps to get it out into the bigger YouTube world where it can get picked up, and hopefully people will come back to my channel and subscribe. Thank you very much again to those of you who have subscribed already. If you haven't subscribed, please could you also do that as well, because I really am trying to grow my channel. And thank you very much to those of you who have subscribed recently. I really, really do appreciate it. Even though I don't get any notification from YouTube telling me as and when people do actually subscribe to my channel, it kind of happens. I see that the number may have changed, and that's about the only way that I really get to know who is actually subscribing. But that being said, I still appreciate you being here. And if you're interested in finding out any more about any of my other readings, there is a playlist with my tarot readings for the new moons, full moons, and the astrology reading for both of them as well. And all of the sun signs will be going up as well over this coming like astrological month, shall we say. So again, thank you very much. Also, if you hit the subscription button and you get that little bell, could you tap that as well if you're interested in finding out any more as and when I put my videos out. So I'm going to finish it there. It's been a long video. It's been a long day, intense to the max, and enjoy this solar energy. We've got 6 months of this energy, and things are going to speed up. Things are going to change very rapidly, and take good care of yourself during this time, and hopefully I will see you again soon.